ensure that students question.
Yeah.
We ensure that you question the norm. Otherwise, the whole point of you spending 2 years, it's not only about absorbing what the teacher or faculty tells you, but learning from your peers. And if you see, always in hindsight, some of the reviews that our students or our alumni give is, I'm grateful for the classmates that I've had because I learned a lot. So it's a very, very enriching experience. It's extremely experiential. Um, my director, Dr. H.R. Venkatesha, believes in one thing. He's been telling the same thing since a decade or so, and he's always believed in 70% has to come from experiential learning. 30%, of course, there's a lot of theory that's involved.
Hi everyone, welcome on board. This is Anisha here in conversation with Ajitesh, who is the Executive Director at Acharya Bangalore Business School. Welcome on board, Ajitesh.
Thank you so much, Anisha.
Great. So good to have you on board. And before we talk about Acharya or the scholarships, why don't you share your experience with us? Like, what made you study overseas and come back and lead this business school?
Yeah, so very unconventional, but like most people, I did engineering. And the engineering that I did was also industrial engineering and management. So I
Okay.
always wanted to be in management, but never found the regular management programs quite suitable for me. So I took that route, thinking industrial would kind of help me set up a business. And the whole idea was obviously to get into entrepreneurship and start something. But I let things happen in a very organic way. I caught on a lot of interest with sustainable energy. So that's when I pursued my master's in sustainable energy from Santa Clara University in California. And post that, I had this option of basically working in a solar company. That was the plan, that was the actual plan. But uh, priorities sometimes change, and then you have to kind of do what's best for the institute also. And yeah, I think a lot of what I learned from Santa Clara was because I was also part of a lot of the teaching assistantships there, and I would grade papers. So I got to interact with professors at a very one-on-one level. So that helped me understand the system a little better, the education system, and how they do things a little differently. And the whole idea of academic freedom and letting students kind of decide and make mistakes was a very interesting way of looking at formal education. So, of course, a lot of learning there. I wanted to bring a lot of that back to India. And it's been close to 9 years since I've been working here at ABBS. My role predominantly looks into the administrative setup, looks into the campus management, looks into the international relationship building that we do. So it's a lot of work in terms of um, uh, the campus as well as what we do outside the campus, tie-ups with the industry. And coming to AVPS
Yeah.
specifically, this is a business school, and being a business school in Bangalore, we have a lot of business schools, but we started in the year 2008, and ever since we've been one of the fastest growing B schools in Bangalore. I say that only because we've completed 3 rounds of NAC with A grade, and we've done 2 cycles of NBA, and then we have an international accreditation called IACP. So, and of course, we're autonomous, so that makes it a lot more interesting because we design programs a little differently than a traditional institute would. And at ABBS, I would say that a lot of the people that work uh, are not homogeneous. They're all coming from different backgrounds, especially the faculty cohort. We have some faculty who are extreme academicians. All they do is academics. And we have some faculty who come with a rich industry experience, industry background. And then there are a few of them who do a lot of research with very less teaching. So I think that mix kind of helps us in many ways because students want multiple perspectives. And as a business school, gone are the days where you focus on a lot of the management concepts. They don't apply anymore. So we ensure that students question.
Yeah.
We ensure that you question the norm. Otherwise, the whole point of you spending 2 years, it's not only about absorbing what the teacher or faculty tells you, but learning from your peers. And if you see, always in hindsight, some of the reviews that our students or our alumni give is, I'm grateful for the classmates that I've had because I learned a lot. So it's a very, very enriching experience. It's extremely experiential. Um, my director, Dr. H.R. Venkatesha, believes in one thing. He's been telling the same thing since a decade or so, and he's always believed in 70% has to come from experiential learning. 30%, of course, there's a lot of theory that's involved. So he has looked at management education in that lens, and we also believe that it has to work in by learning by doing, right? That's the whole idea. And the other interesting thing is our industry tie-ups help students do work by, for example, right? I'll give you a small example. Some of our MBA students went to a village to do community work. They've been there in the rural setup, not complaining for days, and the outcome is you can't directly relate to what you learn in classroom, but it's always when you come back and then you apply it, and then you say, okay, this makes sense. This is what we are talking about when you say social responsibility, and so we introduce all these things, right? We introduce different things to the management program, so it doesn't actually look like a management program. It looks like just like life learning in its very essence. And apart from that, the students that come usually come with a preconceived notion that, okay, I have to study so much, I have to submit these assignments and I'll get my degree. But then it's a lot more complicated or complex than that. Uh, they are expected to be a part of multiple things. You're expected to come out of your comfort zones. And I've said it many times. We have had students who, are very smart, but are terrible when it comes to communication.
Yeah.
And we've pushed them, we've made it hard for them. But then, at the end of that 2 years, they come out as different people altogether. Their confidence is just shot up and they crack interviews and they don't stress with a lot of aspects that they used to consider stressful before. So, overall, if you look at it, think of it like you're coming for a 2 year transformative journey where you don't attach yourself to certain outcomes. Just let the outcomes kind of come to you because it'll show you what you're capable of,
True.
and we give those pathways.
Lovely. So that's pretty interesting, to hear about your journey and how experiential learning and how we are transforming the way education and management education specifically should be. If I were to ask you, Ajitesh, like with respect to the selection process, like what do you look for in candidates and what are the kind of scholarships do you offer for students, who are looking for a better ROI options for themselves?
So it's quite simple. We don't look at everything linearly when it comes to scholarships or when it comes to selection process. The applicants are expected to first fill in their application form online. And once they do, there is a section called SOP. You give in your SOP, why your intent of actually doing an MBA. Do you want to do it for the sake of doing it, or do you have a different reason? And beyond that, what we look at is APSAT. APSAT is our entrance test,
Okay.
online entrance
Okay.
test. And this happens once you complete your application form. It's more like a baseline assessment test. We tell people look at it as an assessment of your aptitude. We try to understand where a student is in terms of aptitude. So once they complete that, we have a personal interview round. And this is done after a scrutiny of the application. The personal interview usually has the director and a senior faculty member, and this will essentially give the institute what the student is like. And once that happens, of course, there's a committee that we have,
Okay.
admission selection process committee, and then they take a decision on whether the student is applicable or not and whether they are entitled for scholarships. Because some students are exceptionally good when it comes to communication,
Okay.
and they're very clear in uh, their agenda of why they want to pursue an MBA, but their academic track record may not be as good.
Hmm.
So we do have scholarship categories, right from academic scholarships to the SOPs to the interview scores. So every step of the way is kind of evaluated. We don't just look at your 12th or your degree marks and then say that this is what you but then of course if you look at our website, we do have categories like, right, so the very base would probably be like 60%,
Okay.
and then all the way up to 100%. So it depends on where you fall. If you're falling at that's the minimum, we give you the 20,000, and at the most you get around 1 lakh.
Okay.
But then this is purely on academic merit.
Hmm.
And if you're looking at statement of purpose, we grade you or give you a score on 10. And similarly, the scholarship can vary anywhere between 50 to 1 lakh.
Okay.
And if you're looking at AppSat, if you're looking at your interview score, it's very similar. I think what kind of makes the big difference for us is your CAT score, or if you're coming with a ZAT score. Uh, if students, so this is very important, right?
Yeah.
If students are scoring above 80, there is a provision for us to work on a 100% scholarship.
Okay.
The only rider is you have to attend and complete your personal interview round, post which the evaluation, we will see whether the student is actually eligible.
Eligible.
And if a student scores 90 by default, he doesn't even have to attend the personal interview round. He does get a full waiver on the
Okay.
fees. Yeah.
Okay, that's pretty interesting. So essentially, it's going to be based on my overall profile and performance in academic aspects, right from the graduation level to entrance exams and the interview which is being conducted.
Yeah, and we also have a director's recommendation. So if the
Okay.
director is recommending this particular candidate because of XYZ skills or their competence, then the scholarships go upwards of 2 lakhs also. So it really depends on the student's interest and what kind of scholarships they're looking at. Yeah. And of course, the other scholarships are your sports and your um, single girl child and SC, ST. We have those. Those are
Okay.
more like mandates that we keep. Um, I think it's best when a student looks into all the scholarship categories and then figures out what's best suitable for me and then applies.
Okay, that's lovely. Great. So that's pretty interesting. And any parting thoughts you would like to give to students who are listening to us, who will be probably be applying into the colleges? What should they keep in mind while coming for these interviews?
I think the important thing is to be themselves and apply with intent. And I think Bangalore as a destination is thriving. They should look at uh, Bangalore as a great place for doing business education.
All right, that's really nice. Thank you so much, Ajitesh, for joining in and sharing your insights with us. I'm sure it's going to be very helpful for all the students who are listening to us. And for people who are listening, if you have any doubts, any questions, you want to know more about the programs, the structure, or with respect to colleges, cutoffs, and everything, drop in the comment section and we will take that up for you. Once again, thank you so much for joining in. All the best. Take care, everyone.